All right, chapter 5-1, we will be starting in on perimeter and area. And so go ahead and in your notes, if you're at home, go ahead and put your title there, 5-1 perimeter and area. And we are going to go over some formulas that you will need for this. So for the first one we're going to talk about is perimeter. You will need to write these formulas down in your notebook because you will have to have these to work all of these. All right, so perimeter of a rectangle. Is perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. And 2L plus 2W. Or you can look at it, there's two different ways to do it and you get the same answer. 2 times L plus W. I will probably use the top one, but both of them mean the same thing. Okay. Perimeter of a triangle is perimeter equals A plus B plus C. And those are your sides. You're going to have a side A, side B, and side C. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do area. And you're going to have area of a rectangle. Did everybody get perimeter written down? Area of a rectangle is pretty easy. It's area equals length times width. Okay. And if it helps you, you can even put the two variables touching L and W means multiplication, or you can put the multiplication sign. Sometimes even you can even write it length times width because two parentheses touching also means multiplication. Okay. Doesn't matter. And then area of a triangle its area equals 1/2 base times height. 1/2 base times height. And it'll be important to remember as we get into some of these examples that remember it's the associative property of multiplication and addition. It doesn't matter what order you put things in. So when I say area equals length times width, we get used to saying it that way, but it could also be width times length because it does not matter. And same with base and height. Area equals 1/2 height times base. Area equals base times 1/2 times height. It's all multiplication, so it doesn't matter what order you put them in. And that'll come into play a little bit when I show you some examples where you'll have like 1/2 base and then you'll have a value for H. Well, the 1/2 and then the B stays a B, and then you put something in for the H, and it's like, I can't take 1/2 of B. I don't know what it is, but you can take 1/2 of H. So just know that you can do those in any order, okay? And we'll go through some examples together. All right. Okay, so you're going to have to do some drawing today in your notes. So we're going to do example number 1. I'll give you a second. Doesn't have to be a Picasso. It doesn't have to be beautiful and perfect. Just sketch a quick triangle and put the values for each of the sides there. Okay. All right, so you'll notice my instructions are the same as yours. It says find the perimeter, right? So find the perimeter and find the area for each figure. So we have to do both. So first we're going to find the perimeter. Well, let's remember that our perimeter for a triangle is, right, perimeter equals side A plus side B plus side C, right? That's the perimeter of a triangle. So for this, I've got my perimeter equals, you always put what it's, I mean, it's P equals, that's part of the equation. That's perimeter equals. And then it doesn't matter what you call A and B, okay? Does anybody know A and B are interchangeable, but what is always C? Does anybody remember? Yeah. Nope, C is always the hypotenuse. So C is, and the hypotenuse is always the one opposite the right angle. Okay, so that's the hypotenuse. That's always C. A and B, it doesn't matter. And honestly, that comes into play when we start doing Pythagorean theorem here in a little bit. But so I want to get you used to remembering that the hypotenuse is side C. But for perimeter and area, it doesn't really matter because we're adding them all together anyway. But I do want to get you in the habit of remembering that the hypotenuse is always side C. So we're going to add up A, B, and C. So 14 plus 48 plus 50, right? And so when we add all of those up, we get perimeter equals 14 plus 48 plus 50 is 112. And you always have to label them. It's 14 centimeters plus 50 centimeters plus 48 centimeters. Now you do not have to put those centimeters when you're writing the equation, if you will remember to put them in your answer. If you don't remember to put them in your answer, then I would put them in this step to help you not forget them, okay? Because it's going to be worth, labeling them is worth a point, just like getting the right answer is worth a point, okay? All right, so now we're going to find the area of this triangle. And we know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, okay? So we've got area is 1/2 times the base, which is here. Okay, so that's 48 times the height, which is here. So 14. So notice for area, we don't use that side C. We only use the base and the height. All right, so again, order doesn't matter. And honestly, if I were you, what's the decimal equation or equivalent to 1/2? 0.5. If I were you in your calculators, I would just put 0.5. It's so much easier than trying to put a calculator, or especially with your cheapy calculators. I don't even on mine, I have a fraction button where I could actually put 1/2 times base times height. It's more time. I just put in 0.5 times 48 times 14. Okay. Now I want to make sure and point out something here about labeling, because this is really important. It's 336. Okay. When we were adding like terms, okay. And remember I said 1 apple plus 3 apples is just 4 apples. You don't say 4 apples squared or anything like that. You're just adding. So on the left, when we were finding perimeter, it was 14 centimeters plus 48 centimeters plus 50 centimeters. The answer is just 112 centimeters, because when you're adding like terms, the title or the what you're adding doesn't change. 4 apples and 8 apples is just 12 apples. You don't say it weird, right? When you're multiplying, it's different, because what we're actually multiplying here is 1/2 times 48 centimeters times 14 centimeters. When you multiply a centimeter times a centimeter, you can't leave it as a centimeter like you do when you're adding. So does anybody know, instead of writing centimeters times centimeters, what would the cleaner way to write this be? Centimeters squared. Okay, so you're not going to write this step, right? I was just showing you why it's centimeters squared. So when you're adding, your label just stays your label. When you're multiplying and you multiply a label times a label, it's label squared. So if it's a foot and a foot, it's foot squared. If it's a meter and a meter, it's a meter squared. If it's an inch and an inch, it's an inch squared. That's only when you're multiplying. Okay, so you have to keep those two straight. All right, are we good there? All right, I want to do a triangle that looks like this, because you'll see both in your homework. So take a second to sketch that one down. All right, so first we're going to do the perimeter. And we know that the perimeter is side A plus side B plus side C. Now, this is not a right triangle. So on this one, it doesn't matter which one you call A, B, and C. Okay, so you've got side A, right? Doesn't matter which one you call side A, side B, and side C. Okay, doesn't matter which one because we're just adding them all together. So we've got 60 plus 75 plus 45. Okay, and let's see, 60 and 45 is 105, so 180. Somebody check me. And then what would I label this? Yards, yeah. My original triangle was in yards. So my label is a yard, and because I'm adding, right? I'm adding it. So my label stays my label. Okay. Now we're going to do area. So we've got, and I'm just to remind ourselves, we've got 1/2 times base times height. Well, we got to think about what's the base and what's the height here. So let me erase what I did for perimeter here. All right, so the triangle is sideways, okay? So you kind of have to look about what's the base of this triangle, okay? The base is going to be, they've told you here, right? They've given you this right angle. If the height goes this way, that means this is the base, okay? If the height goes this way, and it does, that's what that dashed line is, okay? This right here is the ultimate height of the triangle. So that means the 75 is the base. So we've got area equals 1/2 times the base times, now the height, notice the height is not either one of the side lengths. Yes. Yes, please. Notice the height, because this is not a right triangle, and notice the difference. Our first example was a right triangle. And so our height was one of the side lengths because that side length went straight up, right? It wasn't angled. So if you look at the overall height of our first triangle, this was the height of the triangle, and because our side length or our side was straight up and down, that also doubles as the height. Well, if you notice here, right, if we turn this, I don't know if I can. No. If we turn this to where it's sitting on the base, this is the height. It's not either one of the side lengths. And in your problem, if it's not a right triangle, your problem will tell you the height like it does here with that dashed line. So it tells you that the height here is 36. Okay. So it's going to be different. And that's why I wanted to do an example, one of each. It's going to be different depending on whether it's a right triangle or what would this be? Isosceles. It tells you how long it's been since I've identified my triangles. All right, so now we just have to take, again, in your calculator, make it simple for yourself. Punch in 0.5 times 75 times 36, and your answer is 1350. And how am I going to label this one? Cam? And, oops, yep. It's yards squared. And the reason it's yards squared is because up in this step right here, when I multiplied 1/2, which is just a number, it didn't have a label, times 75 yards times 36 yards. And a yard times a yard is a yard squared. Okay. All right. So when we have a rectangle, okay, sketch this in your notes really quickly. All right, so finding the perimeter, okay? It doesn't matter which one you call length and width. It absolutely does not matter, okay? We can call this length, we can call this width, or vice versa. It does not matter. But the reason that it's 2L and 2W is because we know that properties of geometry, rectangles, right? This side is also 61 miles. And we know that this side is also 54 miles because they have to be the same on both sides. So that's why it's 2L. So our perimeter is 2 times L, which is 61, plus 2 times 54. Because we need to, when we're doing perimeter, we're basically adding up all the sides, okay? So we need 2 61s added together or multiplied by 2, and we need 2 54s. So that's why we're multiplying it by 2. So let me erase this just so I have room here. I have perimeter equals, well, 2 times 61 is 122. Is that right? Yeah. And 2 times 54 is 108. And then we add 122 and 108 and we get 230. And how would I label this one? Somebody that hasn't raised their hand yet today. Yes. Miles. Good. And remember I said there were 2 different ways to do it, and I'll show you both really quickly here. Remember this was also 61. Okay, keep that in mind. So the other one I told you there was 2 ways you could do it. You could do perimeter equals 2 times length plus width, right? So you could do the addition first. So 61 plus 54. Okay, so 2 times 61 plus 54 is 115. All right. Okay, and then, oops, 2 times 115 is 230. So you get the same answer either way, and it doesn't matter. You either add first and then multiply 2 by 2, or multiply them both by 2 and then add them together. It doesn't matter. And basically what you're doing, if you take it in your calculator and you actually do it, you're adding up all the sides. So if you do in your calculator 61 plus 54 plus 61 plus 54, you get 230. Okay, it's just an algebraic equation that is basically adding up all the sides. All right, the perimeter, much easier. Length times width, right? So all you're worried about is the length times the width. So 61 times 54. 61 times 54 equals 3,000. Let's see, area equals 3,294. And then how would I label it? Somebody that hasn't answered yet today. You've answered. Somebody that hasn't answered. Yes, Logan? Miles what? Miles squared. Remember on the multiplication, it's squared. Okay. I'm looking, let me look at your homework. I don't think you have any, you don't. Just say, if they don't give you any that are perfectly square. Well, they do on this, but okay. You do it the same way. A square, they're all, and if they didn't give you this information right here, if they didn't give you this, but it was a perfect square, you would know that they were all sides are 48 of a perfect square, right? I don't think you have any on your homework that are perfect squares, but I just wanted to cover it just in case. All right, what if it's given to you in words? Okay, like number 5 is here. A right triangle with legs of 24 and 41, 57, and a hypotenuse of 48. If I were you, okay, I would always draw out my triangle, okay? So I'm going to draw my triangle. I'm going to draw a right triangle here. And it tells me that the legs, which are here, so 24 and 41, 57. And then it tells me the hypotenuse is 48. And again, remember the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. So I've taken the words and I've drawn my triangle. And now it's still finding perimeter and area. So perimeter equals, well, perimeter of a triangle is just adding up those sides. So 24 plus 48 plus 41, 57 equals, I thought I did it. 24 plus 48 plus 41, 57 equals 113.57. So 113.57. And somebody that hasn't said anything yet today, how do I label this? Bella, how would I label this? Feet. Okay, just plain old feet. Okay, for area is 1/2 times the base, which here's your base right here, 41.57 times the height. Well, remember the height of a right triangle is just that side leg, so times 24. And when I punch it into my calculator, I'm going to punch 0.5 times 41.57 times 24, and I get area equals 498.84. And how am I going to label it? Aiden, how am I going to label this one? Feet squared. Good. Okay. All right. So what if we're missing something? Okay. And you do have one like this on your, or you do have ones like this on your homework. Okay. Find the missing dimension for each figure. Well, if you look at number 8 here, it tells you perimeter. Okay. So it tells you what you're dealing with. Notice in this one, it tells you area, perimeter, area. So it tells you what it wants you to find. So if we know that the perimeter, now let's just remember that our perimeter is A plus B plus C for a triangle, right? If they tell me that the perimeter is 160, what am I going to plug that in for? Anybody? No. In my equation, P equals A plus B plus C. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to plug it in for P. They give me, basically, they're giving me the answer. They're giving me the answer of perimeter is 160. And then again, it doesn't matter, A plus B plus C. It doesn't matter which one we call which. If we call this A, we call this B, and we call this C. Well, that means that we know that A is 53 plus 46. Well, we don't know C, right? Or X. It doesn't matter what you call it. Okay. They call it X on the drawing. So you can put X or C. I don't care. Well, now we use what we learned in last chapter to solve for X. So we've got 160. We've got to combine that 53 and that 46 together, right? So 53 plus 46 equals 99 plus X. And now I need to subtract 99. And I should get what X equals. Well, 160 minus 99 is 61. So X equals 61. 61 what? Miles. Okay, so X here, turn it around here. X equals 61 miles. Now, what should happen if we check this is that if we add our A, B, and C now, right? If we add 53 plus 46 plus what we found for our missing side of 61, we should get the perimeter of 160, and we do. Okay. All right, so how about if it's a missing area? Missing area. Well, again, let's remind ourselves the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. Okay. Well, again, they've given us the area. They've given us the A. They've given us the answer. So we need to plug that in for the A equals 1/2. Did they give us the base? Nope. So we're going to leave that. You can either leave it a B or an X. I don't care. And then they did give us the height, right? Here's the height, right? So times 36. And this is where I was talking about earlier, where I said order doesn't matter. I can't take 1/2 of X because I don't know what 1/2 of X is. I don't know what X is, but I can multiply 1/2 times 36 because order doesn't matter in multiplication. So I can take 1/2 of 36, which is 18. So if you take in your calculator 0.5 times 36, you're going to get 18, and then X just stays in X. Well, now how do I solve for X? Lakin, what would I do to solve for X here? It's attached with what? Right? And it's what operation is it attached with? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Okay, so what's the opposite of multiplication? Good. So I'm going to divide by 18 on both sides. And when I do that, I get X equals 48. And of course, I want to write it this way because I want to be able to add. Now, notice my label here is not centimeters squared. Okay. Why is it not centimeters squared? Yes. Right. That's not my whole area, which is centimeters squared. Notice here my label is centimeters squared. But when I'm putting in here for X, this is just my base. So it's just 48 centimeters. Okay. Good with that. I'm not going to work this one, but you would do the same thing. I'm not going to work it all the way through. Area they give you is 1125 and it's length times width. So it's, and again, it doesn't matter which one you call width, right? So it's 25 times X. It doesn't matter which one you put first. And then you would just divide both sides by 25 to solve for your X. So use the equations or the formulas that I gave you at the beginning of the notes. And if it helps, like I said, write area equals length times width, if it helps. And that way you know what you're plugging in. Okay, last example is when they give it to you in words. So I'm going to do this number 12 here. And of course, you're not going to write this whole sentence down. If you want to go back later on and write the whole sentence down, you certainly can, but we're just going to draw the triangle. And so you'll draw the triangle with me and put that in your notes. All right, so the area of a rectangle is 1260 square inches. Its length is 36 inches. Find the width. All right, so first of all, we've got a rectangle. And we know that the area, they give us the area is 1260. Okay, they give us the whole area and they tell us the length is 36, but they don't tell us the width, right? So 36, and you can put W, you can put X, you can put L. It doesn't matter which one, what you call it. Okay, so we've got this we've got this rectangle, and we know that the formula for area is area equals length times width, right? So they give me the area. So under the A, I'm going to put 1260. I'm here. And then for the length or the width, one of the two, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put a 36, and then I'm going to solve for the W. Okay, so I've plugged in the area that they gave me. I plugged in one of the sides they gave me. And then to solve it, right, I'm going to divide by 36 and divide by 36. And I get that W equals, and when you divide, oh, I didn't put it in my calculator. When I divide 1260 divided by 36, I get 35. And how would I label this? Yes. Inches. And again, it's not squared because this is just simply this one right here. That's just simply my 35-inch side. This is my 36-inch side. And my area was inches squared inside. Okay. Good with that? I'm not going to work it all the way through, but I am going to help you set this one up just to show you. We have a triangle, area of a triangle. Okay. It tells you that the base, I'm just going to draw a triangle here, tells you the base is 42 yards. It does not tell you the height, but it does tell you that the total area is 672. So the total area is 672 and it's yards squared. So if we got our area is area equals 1/2 base times height, then we would do the total area 672 equals 1/2 the base. And then we don't know the height. That's what we're solving for, right? So we're solving for that H. We don't know what it is, but we can, 1/2 of 42 is 21H, and then divide by 21 and divide by 21, and you would get your height, okay? Using the formulas that I gave you at the very beginning right here, that's gonna be key no matter whether they give you all the sides or you have to find missing sides. Going back to these base formulas are gonna be your go-to for each problem, all right? All right, for those of you at home, go ahead and click Load in Kami and show all your work using the pen tool or the text box and email me if you have any questions.